Yo, what's happening, YouTube? Afro Cuban here, and I'm back with another episode of what my DC movie universe would be like. Now, this is the series where I hypothetically reboot and rewrite the DC universe and explain in order which movies I will put out and break down the details and the plot of each of those movies. Now, I don't really want to waste too much more time. This right here is the big kahuna. We finally made it up to the Justice League. And so, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, when the movie first starts off, we're immediately introduced to Steppenwolf. He comes through a boom tube with a small army of parademons. Steppenwolf doesn't say a word, he just points, and the parademons attack and destroy a museum that has a replica of a mother box. But after realizing that it's a fake, Steppenwolf smashes it in anger and says, "The idiotic human has wasted our time," implying that he has a lead or a source that happens to be human, but led him to this false replica. So the screen cuts to black, and the next day the attack is reported on the news. Diana sees it and immediately knows who's responsible. She knows that either Darkseid himself or at least one of his minions has come to Earth. So then we cut to our heroes. We get a few scenes of them during their personal lives when they're not in costume. First, we see Bruce Wayne. He's at a fundraiser. He's playing up the playboy persona. He's surrounded by women and he's pretending to be a drunk douchebag. Then we get a scene of Clark, and he's about to go on his first field mission with Lois Lane. He's very excited because he's developed feelings for Lois over the past few weeks, and now they're finally going in the field together. So right now, everything seems calm and normal. And then we cut back to Diana. She's on a private jet on her way to Metropolis. And so the next day, she's in her hotel. She suits up and she goes out and she finds Superman. She runs into him while he's literally saving a cat from a tree. She approaches him and says, "I was led to believe you are one of, if not the strongest man on the planet, and you spend your time rescuing small animals?" He smiles and he replies, "I help whenever I'm needed, no matter how big or small the problem is. So, how can I help you?" She explains to him everything that she's learned and the possible upcoming events, and he agrees to help, no problem. They both then fly to Gotham, and later that night they find Batman. He and Robin are perched on a rooftop stalking a local gang as they're getting ready to buy and sell guns. Wonder Woman tries to explain the situation to Batman, but he cuts her off and says, "We're busy." Superman sighs and sucks his teeth and then swoops down and breaks all of the guns and ties up all of the gang members in a matter of seconds. Then he comes back up to Batman and says, "Now do we have your attention?" So the three of them talk and debate the situation for a while, and soon after, Batman finally agrees to help. But he tells Robin that he's not ready for this fight and orders him to stay and patrol Gotham. And the three of them head back to Metropolis to plan the next move. And so the main trinity has now assembled, and majority of this movie will center around them because for some reason no one in Central City has seen or heard from the Flash in days. So our three heroes must go out and try to do what they can to minimize the damage caused by the parademons who are flying around the world, killing and kidnapping whoever they please in search of the mother box. Steppenwolf is actually almost ready to abandon his search as he feels the mother box isn't on Earth anymore. But he's very smart and he starts to remember the replica that was in the museum. It was in the aquarium section. So he puts two and two together and figures that maybe that means it's underwater. So he readies his remaining army and they head towards the ocean. Our main three heroes are still going around trying to take down any parademons they come across, all while in the midst of this still trying to track down the Flash, but they keep coming up on dead ends. But then they see on the news that Steppenwolf himself and the parademons are on a beach killing innocent people as the police and the army try to fight back with tanks and jets. So now our heroes must abandon the search for the Flash and they have to go help the people on the beach. And finally, the Trinity arrives. We get an epic final battle on the beach as our heroes and the help of the military using their jets and tanks are all taking on hundreds of parademons. During the battle, one fighter jet is almost destroyed, but right before it crashes, Wonder Woman rescues the pilot. A handsome blonde man removes his helmet and says, "Thank you, princess." She blushes and reads his name tag. It says Trevor. She doesn't say anything, she just gently puts him down and then immediately returns to the fight. This huge epic battle goes on for a long while, and when majority of the parademons are finally wiped out, Steppenwolf gets pissed and decides to get serious. His eyes start glowing red and his sword starts to heat up, and he starts slicing through police officers and soldiers one by one, turning them all into dust with every blow. Superman recognizes this and realizes he's the one who killed Lobo. Superman then orders Batman and Wonder Woman to flank him and to not let the blade touch them. The trio work together and they're actually overpowering Steppenwolf. But then out of nowhere, Batman gets shot in the back by a stray laser from a random parademon. And then he gets swarmed by dozens of them. He's trying to fight the parademons back even with an injured torso. So now Wonder Woman must fly over to help him. So now Steppenwolf and Superman fight one on one. Superman is faster and stronger, but Steppenwolf is a cunning warrior. He uses police officers and pedestrians as human shields to throw Superman off his game and to gain the upper hand. Steppenwolf then grabs a little girl and holds her hostage and threatens to decapitate her unless Superman stands down. Superman, whose eyes were bright red as he was gearing up to use his heat vision, powers down and pleads for the little girl. And then, at that moment, everyone hears a loud sonic boom, lightning crackling over the water, and out comes the Flash with his signature line, "Sorry I'm late." Flash then zips around the beach, knocking out the remaining parademons, and then snatches the little girl away from Steppenwolf and immediately creates a giant lightning tornado that deals a huge nasty blow to Steppenwolf. Superman then uses this opportunity to swoop in and break his sword, and then uses his heat vision to knock the helmet off his head and even injures one of Steppenwolf's eyes. And so now, with all of the parademons gone and only one good eye, Steppenwolf must face the Justice League on his own. Each of the heroes land blows and do damage, and they eventually overpower him. Wonder Woman then walks over and puts her sword to his throat, but Superman quickly stops her and gives a small speech about how they're meant to save lives, not take them. Flash, who has a giddy smile on his face, pats Superman on the back and says, "See, that's why you're my hero." So now Steppenwolf is forced to give up and retreat. He summons a boom tube and limps away, and the portal closes. The heroes finally have a moment to catch their breath and gather themselves. The remaining civilians and soldiers on the beach all cheer and begin to hug and shake the hands of the heroes. The father of the little girl Barry saved comes over with tears in his eyes. He's holding his daughter and he thanks the Justice League for their bravery and heroics. It's a heartfelt moment, but then there's an ominous silence. Everyone can feel it. Something is coming. And at that moment, another boom tube opens up over the ocean. This one is different from all of the other boom tubes. You see, boom tubes are usually small portals that have a bright white light. But this one, it was dark red, and it was huge. So huge, it sounded like the sky cracked open, and it sent a shockwave over the ocean. And as everyone stood there and waited to see what or who it was, a foot slowly steps out and floats above the ocean. Under his heel, you can see the water start to bubble as if it was boiling. It was him, Darkseid himself. He doesn't say anything, he's just standing there with his hands behind his back. Superman is the only one who steps up. He flies over and stands his ground and hovers there in front of Darkseid. They have an intense face-off. Neither of them says a word. They just stare at each other for a while. And then finally, Darkseid speaks. You are their champion? Superman doesn't answer. He just smirks. And Darkseid continues. I applaud your seldom bittersweet victory. But know this, Kryptonian. This world, as did all of the others, will fall. And these humans that you champion will know every shred and septum of agony and pain. And you will do nothing but watch helplessly as I eradicate every soul on this fiscal rock. And then, only then, once you've ran your eyes dry of tears, will I snuff you out. Or you kneel and pledge your allegiance and obedience to the will of Darkseid. Darkseid then slowly turns around and floats away back towards the boom tube. But right before he leaves, someone throws a rock at Darkseid's head. Darkseid immediately stops and turns his head. His eyes are flaming red. The rock did no damage at all. He barely felt it. It was just the fact that someone would have the sheer audacity to throw something at him. It was the same man who was holding his daughter. He steps out in front of the crowd and he yells, Yeah, get the hell out of here, you clown. You're no match for our Superman. That's why you and your alien buddies are running. Darkseid turns all the way around, and then he shoots an Omega beam directly at Superman's face. But right before it gets within an inch of hitting Superman, the beam curves around his head and then it strikes and disintegrates the man and his daughter, instantly killing them both. Superman and the rest of the heroes and civilians on the beach all have a shared look of shock and distress on their face. Darkseid then whispers, Think about my offer, Superman. And then he leaves through the boom tube. The battle is done. It's a bittersweet ending, and everyone is just standing around in silence, mourning the death of the brave man and his daughter. And then the screen fades to black. So now we cut to the ending montage. A few weeks have passed, and the heroes are all continuing on with their lives. We see Superman, he's flying through Metropolis. We see Batman, he's in his cave doing detective work and building a file on Darkseid. Wonder Woman has returned to Themyscira, and Flash is back in Central City doing his Flash thing. And right before the movie ends, the camera pans up to the sky and zooms into the upper atmosphere where we see a silhouette of a man, or what looks like a man. He's just sitting there, hovering, watching. His eyes begin to glow red, and it's revealed to be Martian Manhunter. The screen cuts to black, and the movie ends there. Alright, guys, there you have it. That was the big Justice League movie. That's the way I would have written it. That's the way I would have put it out. For the most part, I would have focused more on the I would have focused more on DC's big trinity, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, because I wanted it to be basically their origin of the Justice League. I wanted them to be the OGs, the originals. They're the ones who started it, so it focused mainly on them. And then at the end, Flash comes in and basically help save the day. But for the most part, it's their movie. They're the ones starting the Justice League. And then moving forward, we can focus on more heroes. So, yeah, that's basically how that would have happened. And stay tuned for more up and coming projects that I got coming out that I'm currently working on. And if you stuck with me for this long and listened to this entire synopsis, I appreciate you and can't wait to hit you with more.